Hi, and welcome to Wine Dine Caroline's Happy Hour on Paris Underground Radio. I'm your host, Carolyn Connor. Hi, Cheri. I'm so excited to have you on Happy Hour, where you tell me a fun or stupid story, and I will pair wine with your story. So, can you introduce yourselves for our listeners, please?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Cheri Yazzie, and I am a business strategist and an all-around self-love badass. I'm big on everyone loving themselves.
I love that. And I have been working with you for a while now, and it's just the most wonderful. So we'll make sure to put all your links in the show notes. If you need a boost in life and business, definitely come and check out Cheri and her podcast and her Facebook community. And it is really a wonderful place to hang out.
Well, I'm so happy you're in there. I really love having you there.
So today I was asking Cheri if maybe she had some funny mom stories, because you are a mom and I haven't had any funny mom stories yet, but you told me actually you came up with something else, another story that you think is going to titillate our listeners.
I do. It's a good story. Does well at cocktail parties, that kind of thing. So when I was in my late 20s, I had never had a gay best friend. You know, on the movies, you see people with a gay best friend. I was like, I would love a gay best friend.
Gay best friends are the best.
Right. And I had people in my family who were gay. So it was not like I wasn't around people who were gay, but I'd never had a best friend. And I was like, this would be so amazing. And it just so happened I met a guy and he was wonderful and we clicked immediately. It was just a beautiful, beautiful relationship.
Was he super hot?
Oh my God. So pretty. Like one of the
Why?
you've ever seen. And he was so tall. He was so tall.
They get the good ones, don't they?
Oh, so gorgeous. And he was a little bit younger than me, like a couple years younger than me. And we wanted to go out dancing. I love to dance. And I was like, this would be perfect because I can go out with my friend to a gay bar and not have to worry about guys like dance with me because I was a married lady at the time. And so I got all dolled up, like the whole cleavage shirt. And I was I was feeling so pretty and so cute. And we go out and we're dancing and having the best time. And it was just great. I was one of the first times I wasn't worried about my body or what did people think of me. I don't give a shit. Because even though I was, I'm in a committed relationship and had been, there's still something about being there. It's almost like a competition, like a meat market kind of feel to me.
Well, and you want to feel sexy, but you don't want to be harassed.
Yes, very much so. But there's always a little bit of that, you know what I mean? What are they thinking about me? You know what I mean? Am I dancing? Okay. I just full out was dancing, just enjoying myself. And we stopped to have some water. And we were standing at the bar and a guy that he knew came up and was talking with us. And he just turned to me and he went, "Oh, I love your boobs," and reached out and totally felt me up. And I was like, okay, yeah, okay, thanks. I mean, I didn't know what to say or do even. And it's like, yeah. I went to a gay club, got felt up. Yep, that's what happened.
That's pretty funny. I don't think something exactly like that has happened to me, but I definitely would, in my 20s, there were definitely times I think when there was this familiarity that maybe wasn't quite appropriate in any way. But it's funny. I mean, I don't know if you still frequent gay bars, but I love a gay bar, but they definitely are a little more honest these days that they don't always want us there, which I think is fair too.
Yeah, I think that's a true thing. They're like, hey, this is our thing. Go get your own women bar or something.
I know, right? I think it's it depends. First of all, I think you got to know which bar you're going to. And it needs to be friendly for women. And you also need to not go in a gang of women. Going to a gay bar on a bachelorette party is bullshit. That's just kind of shitty and voyeuristic, right? But I've been to some where they don't have a women's bathroom. And when you go to one of those, it's time to go and stay in your own lane. Yeah, they don't want you there. Or go into a gay bar in the matinee and 10 dudes give you the fucking evil eye. And you're just like, okay, bye. Fair, it's fine. I totally get it. I get it. I do want to be here, but only if I'm welcome here, and it's okay that not everywhere works for that, but
Yeah, everybody gets to have their place. For me, that was great. There was really, I think there was only two women there, me and one other woman, and everybody was super nice, and it was way fun. It was a super great night. Other than it was weird, and then I was like, I had to tell my husband. So I did get felt up, and he was like,
like what?
and I was like, yeah, yep. And he's like, well, your boobs are really nice, so I guess.
They're beautiful. It's an impressive rack.
Yeah.
I guess in high school I didn't have gay friends because no one in my high school was out yet. Although I think, let's see, I mean, I graduated high school in 2006. By the time my little sister graduated, which would have been 9 years later, so 2015, is that correct? No, I can't do math. That is math,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Yes. Did I? That doesn't make
So,
sense
did you say
because
2007? When did you graduate?
I graduated. This is my second glass of wine. I graduated in 2006, and my little sister is 9 years younger than me.
Yeah, so that's 2015.
That doesn't make sense because she's been out of, okay, I don't know. Well, she basically, by the time when she was like 12, she had kids in her class coming out. But we grew up in California, so there is that. Like it's super liberal here, but it's really interesting how like in such a short period of time, like nobody was out when I was a kid. And then by the time she was in school, it was like normal to come out when you're a teenager, which is, or even a 12-year-old, which is fucking awesome, honestly. But I've always been very drawn to gay dudes.
Yeah, well, my grandma, after I started being friends with him, she's like, I've always kind of thought that actually, like, if you could work it out to have like a gay man in, like, actually live with you, like, he has his own relationships and you have yours, and how wonderful that would be, and all the things you could do together. And I was like, it sounds like you wanted a gay best friend as well, Grandma.
I think a lot of people did that. And it probably, wasn't super fulfilling in some ways for everyone unless they all, had their own arrangements. I mean, it's different. Like obviously it's not what people really want, right? I mean, you want to be with your partner and live with someone you're fucking, right? But if you don't have that option, I think there were definitely probably quite successful companionships that operated that way. It's funny. I don't know if you watch Big Mouth. You would like Big Mouth.
I haven't seen it.
Oh my God. Big Mouth is a Netflix cartoon about puberty that is the 15-year-old boy in your brain's voice. It's disgusting.
God.
It's super funny, but in the latest season, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the latest season of Big Mouth and you want to, just sorry, not sorry. Basically, they do a Christmas episode, and it like is the birth of Jesus story with all the characters, and it's like the main girl Jessie, and she's like, but I haven't even had sex yet, and I'm pregnant, and and then and then they find the gay kid Matthew in the show. He's Joseph. He's like, wait, so I get to like travel around, be adored, and I don't have to have sex with you? Perfect, sign me up. It's just like, holy shit, they did that. They went there. Made me laugh.
Well, okay, I have a story about that.
Oh yeah, tell me.
So I was flipping through and I was seeing like what holiday shit's around and what we could go do. And I was like, oh, the live nativity is today. And my son goes, oh, the live nativity, we should go. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, okay, it'll be fun. We'll go. And then we'll just be all like, Joseph, it's not your kid. You're not the dad. You want to do that at the live nativity? I laughed a lot.
Well, but you also shut it down.
So, yeah,
You did not go to the
we didn't go
nativity.
do that. No,
You didn't heckle Joseph.
man, and he came up with it right off. I was like, hey, you are
Yeah.
funny.
Funny. It's an interesting tale. I just read a book about like finding doors into other universes, which is basically everything I've ever wanted. The 10,000 Doors of January. I don't know if you're into you like fantasy, right?
I read a lot of urban fantasy.
Oh yeah, yeah. See, I'm not into urban fantasy. I'm more into like medieval. This wasn't that. This is like Return of the Century, but I like a dragon. I like a dragon and some sword fighting. I did I'm trying to remember why I even thought of 10,000 Doors of January, but my second glass of wine killed it. Everyone should read it though. It's really, really good. I literally forgot why I brought that up. That is terrible. Um, Jesus Christ. This should be a drunk book podcast. That would be an interesting podcast.
Well, there used to be this thing, and I don't know that they do it anymore. It was called Drunk Webinars, and she would bring on people who were sort of, well, they were internet famous, let's call them, in the business niche, but they would take a shot, and they would keep taking shots. And I was like, no, that sounds interesting. I think that might be fun.
Yeah, well, there was, I don't know if she's still around. There's a YouTuber, My Drunk Kitchen or something, who's a girl who actually looks quite a lot like me. And I used to get people sending me her links all the time, being like, "You should do this." It was just like a drunk girl cooking, and she looks like me too. It was funny. I was like, I should have done that, but she already did it. Now I can't do it.
Be a drunk woman podcaster.
I know. Well, this is actually the only time I think I've really been drinking on the podcast, because every other time it's been during the day. And now I'm actually in America and yeah, drinking. Well, I have to pair wine with your story, and I think it should be a big wine that maybe is a little bit cheap, you know, for that moment, but still delightful. Well, I don't know. Or it could be something that's just like a unicorn wine, like super frivolous and fun, and like a fun night out when you finally get your gay bestie. I'm trying to think about what I would drink with my gay bestie. I had a gay roommate once, and the best part of this is actually, AJ, I love you if you listen to this. I put an ad when I lived in San Francisco. I put a Craigslist ad, and I wish I still had like a pic. I don't know if you can go back and scour Craigslist for old listings, although I'm not going to, but if anyone wants to, it was literally the rantings of a crazy person. I was like, I'm looking for someone who will get high with me and watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer and blah, blah, like it was like long and crazy and like I love to cook and you have to do the dishes, blah, blah, blah. And like 3 people responded. One of them, I was a woman who I ended up like getting shit faced with, and then nothing ever came of that. And then AJ, we met up at Mission Pie over a pot pie, and he was like, so I have 2 cats. One of them is a normal cat. I was like, sold. Yeah. And Goober, who is the non-normal cat, Goober was just he was a beautiful little Scottish fold ginger kitty who had some genetic issues because of inbreeding, which is real. And he was so funny, though. He used to sleep on my bed. But AJ's the greatest. And then AJ moved to New York. And during the pandemic, he calls me. He's like, "Hey, I have some news for you. I'm a little nervous to tell you. I don't know how you're going to take it." It's like the beginning of the pandemic. He's like, "So, you know that like he had just graduated or was in the process of graduating fashion school. Like there's no work, there's no jobs, everything's fucked. And New York was like really, super scary." He's like, "So I decided to move in with Dana." Dana is my sister who was in the first episode of the podcast. So Dana is also in New York. She was also alone during the pandemic, and they had become friends. And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so happy for you guys!" So they've been roommates ever since, which makes me really happy. So AJ was my roommate, and now he's Dana's roommate, which totally ties into the theme of Dana stealing all my friends. Definitely a lifelong issue, but worth it, because then we get to keep the friends in the same loop, so it's fun.
Which is nice, because then you don't lose touch. You have more touch with that person.
It's the greatest. No, AJ's the greatest. I love you, AJ. I'm going to send you this episode so you listen to it. I'm trying to think what AJ would drink, but AJ would never feel someone up at a bar, ever. He's way too polite for that. Was he young? You were all young, right?
Yeah, we were all in our 20s.
God, that back in the day. I think I would pair that with like a fruity off-dry Lambrusco. So that is a wine that kind of has a bad reputation because there was some shitty Lambrusco on the market back in the day. If anyone knows me at all, everyone knows I love an underdog wine that used to be shitty and now isn't. And Lambrusco is one of those. It's red and fizzy and sweet. It doesn't have to be sweet, but this one that I would pair with this story would be sweet. And it just is like yummy and tastes like juice. And the ones that are good, like have complexity. They have a lot of wonderful sort of stone fruit characteristics, some spiciness, some yummy fizzy sweetness. I mean, really, that seems like it would have been a really good wine to drink that night. And just easy to drink. That stuff goes down easy because it basically is the same texture as Coca-Cola, Not really. That's not fair. It's not as sweet and it's not as fizzy, but it's delicious. And now, a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Wine Dine Caroline's Happy Hour. Have you ever had Lambrusco?
I have not.
Well, I know you like bubbles, and I would send you a bottle, except you live in fucking Utah, where you can't send people wine.
True story, you can't.
That's a tragedy. So in America, for anyone who's not American or who lives in a state where they don't realize this, every single state has a different wine market. And so it's literally like dealing with 50 different markets. So people are always like, oh, why don't you export? Why aren't you an importer to America? People really ask me that all the time. They're like, oh, you should bring over French wine. I'm like, no, that's a horrible job full of paperwork and misery. Like, I'm not interested in that. But Utah is one of the like 3 states, maybe 4. It's like Utah, Alabama, South Dakota, and weirdly Delaware. You cannot ship. But Utah is very, very beautiful. So
It is beautiful, but they do make it hard to drink here. So I would say that's a very true statement. And if you go out and order drinks, they have those pour things that make it so that they can't pour more than one thing. They can't make a double, even at a bar. Like, even if you go to a bar, you can't get a double. You can only get a single.
silly.
Yeah.
Do you guys have weed?
No.
No? Oh my God. I mean, I've been in America for 2 weeks now, 2.5 weeks. I was in Chicago first, which now has weed dispensaries, and now I'm in California. Everybody's high all the time. I honestly, like, I'm into legalizing weed for a lot of reasons, although I think it's problematic for a lot of reasons too. Like, let's take something we've been putting Black people in jail for and make it profitable for white people. Great. But also, like, everybody's high all the time.
Yes, I have found that places, it is very interesting. And they're high at their jobs sometimes, which is also can be a bummer.
Driving high, just high all the time, man. And you really do get a tolerance for it. I think more than you probably do for alcohol. Saying that, I have pretty high tolerance for alcohol, but like, you definitely need more and more and more of it to get, take the edge off. And I'm just like, I went on a date with a guy this is the guy who made me sign an NDA. He made me sign an NDA because he was talking about his, like, well, I guess I can't talk about it, his business venture that I was interested in, and I do wish him the best. He'll never listen to this, but he literally had to like get up to go vape outside because he's like, oh no, I'm literally high all the time. And he's like, do you want to have sex tonight? I was like, no. Like, I am not interested in anyone who's high all the time. I'm sorry, dude. Like, go to a therapist, get some medication. I'm sorry. Is that terrible?
No, I that's not what I would do.
I remember the periods of my life where I've been high all the time, which have existed. I mean, you just don't do laundry, You just can't get shit done.
I like people who are wildly present for their lives, like excited to be alive and enjoy things. I mean, I'm not one to say no to a good time, but if it's an all the time thing, I mean, it's just like I wouldn't want to be drunk all the time.
Yeah, I've been drunk all the time too, and that's terrible. Well, no, you can't be drunk all the time. You're drunk and you're hungover, and then you're drunk again. And that is not a good way to be, for sure. But that's a story for another day.
Oh, I've done that, but only like sometimes vacations. It's like I have to like get myself right because I'm like, oh yeah, I don't start drinking at 2 usually when I'm at home. So I didn't account for all the extra drinks and then how hungover I would be the next day.
Yeah, you got to eat. You got to eat. Eating is important.
And water.
Eating and water. And it's funny, I remember when I was coming up in the wine industry in London as a young woman in my early 20s, which is a terribly dangerous thing to be in the wine industry, just FYI to everybody. It's basically a rape factory. They would tell us at work, they're like, eating is cheating. Eating is cheating. That was the message. Here's some wine. Here's some wine, young lady. Eating is cheating.
Lovely.
Yeah. Yuck. But now I do value eating, moderation. I didn't drink last night or the night before, so I get to have a half a bottle of this delightful New Zealand Pinot. Wow, we went on all kinds of tangents today. Maybe I should be drunk more. I mean, I'm not drunk, you guys. I'm just a little tipsy. But that was a relatable story. I think many of us have had experiences somewhat like that at a gay bar, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to think. No, gay men have definitely felt me up, but I probably asked them too. Like, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, have you ever felt boobs before? Check mine out. I mean, that is totally something that like 23-year-old me would have done.
Gotcha. It's a different time. Consent is a lot more out in front, I would say.
An actual thing that is
Yeah.
spoken about.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, what a relief. Honestly, I do. I feel good and inspired when I talk to young women in the wine industry today, because I do say, I'm like, be careful. This was my experience. And I'm like, no, yeah, I've heard that. Don't worry. Like, it's fine. And we watch out for each other and we talk about this stuff. And I'm like, yay, like, cheers. Things are improving. And at least we're talking about it and they are aware. And I think men know that we're fucking watching you. If you're a man, you're listening to this. No men listen to this. Don't touch us unless we want you to, okay? Come on.
Things have changed, I would say, because it when I remember when Me Too came out, and I was like, okay, well, every single woman I know, and I mean every single woman, not one missing, would say could say Me Too, because it wasn't just not just, but it wasn't assault only, it was harassment. And I was like, I don't know a single woman who's not been harassed.
No, there isn't. There isn't. And I think the thing that some men don't understand is that even if you don't grab someone's ass, the men that do it to everyone. And so one dude can hurt so many women. And we saw this with the Master Sommelier scandal, which I don't know if you read about that, I'll send you that article because it's, well, maybe I won't because it's horrible. It's, if you want to read it, anyone wants to read the Master Sommelier sex scandal article that came out like 3 days before the election, by the way, which to me is very suspicious. It was super triggering for me, really took me right back to being a young lady in the London wine trade, which hasn't had its own moment because I think British people are still not quite ready to be honest. You know, we take money, power, and alcohol and put them in a room together with a lot of ambitious young women, and the men who know exactly that those girls want to be in the room. Well, there's only one way to stay in that room, and it's a dark one. So it's rough. It's rough. I think it is different now. I hope. Fucking better be.
Things are shifting, and again, I can't speak to other countries, but here, because there have been consequences, very, very public, loud consequences that actually, and this is what I've always said, is people in power, the only way for the actual actions to change is for them to have consequences, and enough consequences that they go, oh, you know what, this isn't worth that anymore. Like, I can't, it could ruin.
But then we see Donald Trump getting elected and 19 women at a minimum.
Talk about that.
I know. That's not what this podcast is about, but fuck, that was very, honestly, for anyone who's wondering why I moved to France, that was a big reason.
Yeah.
I mean, just, literally weeks before he says, I grab him by the pussy and they can't do anything about it. And we still did that. I mean, that was, yeah, I don't know. Fuck. That was every single woman that has a pulse and isn't completely brainwashed was stabbed in the heart that day.
Yeah, it's very painful. And I get it. I mean, that's the same thing. I was talking to my husband. I'm like, look, if he was reelected, we probably have to leave. Like, I don't think we can keep hanging on here.
I mean, it's yeah. I mean, it's just ugh. It's terrible. I mean, okay, look, hey, you know what my dad said? My dad's a smart guy. Because I'm like, Dad, there's no consequences. This is the thing. There's no consequences for Trump. And he goes, Carolyn, Hitler shot himself in an underground bunker and Mussolini was drawn and quartered. And that made me feel a little better. Is that terrible?
It's nice.
I was like, okay, fine.
This was a long time ago. We were watching Law and Order. It was me and my husband and my dad because he was visiting. And it was like, so the guy ended up, he cheated on his girlfriend and he didn't want to be honest about it. And so then they thought he was the perpetrator and put him in jail. And while he was in jail, he was assaulted and then killed. No. Yes. And without thinking, I went and I was like, oh, well, that's what cheaters get. I look at my dad, who I definitely know had cheated on people. And I was like, oh, no. Like, that was maybe a little too far. So I do understand that. This is what I would say. I try to not get down into the mud because it drags me down in there, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to give them the power to pull me out of where I am, because the more I can stay in my lane and do what I'm here to do, the better it is for the world and the worse it is for them. Really, not because I'm trying to oppose them, but because literally, as a brown plus size woman, if I have a voice and a place and I create my own power, that is a complete and total fuck you to a white patriarchal system that elected Trump. So I say that right there. And then that's what I try to focus on.
Goosebumps, goosebumps. It's it's so real, and it's something that I heard my friend Kimberly Espinel, who's a food photographer. She's the Little Plantation on Instagram, and she talked about this in her podcast, and she said it's radical to be a brown woman who makes money.
Yeah.
And it's the biggest, it's the most important thing, and this is what a lot of the women that who connected us in the online business space talk about. Like, the solution is not for Donald Trump to die in a hideous, fantastical fashion that I imagine. It is for people of color and women of color specifically to make a lot of money and get power.
Yeah. I think overall, moving the balance of power into even just good-hearted people, like overall, like people who are committed to people and people who are committed to the earth, people who have a connection to the earth and feel the connection to other people. That right there, so that is the focus. And I really have a lot of faith in the upcoming generations. They are so much more accepting, and they are. I mean,
they're scared of fucking climate change. They're terrified of climate change, so they're actually going to do something about it.
Yeah, they're actually doing really cool things in the world. So I think that, we are moving that way. But yes, I feel like anyone who's in a marginalized community, the more that they can do to be successful and pull that power, the better for the world.
Yeah. And you know what? As white people, it's my responsibility, it's our responsibility to put our money into communities of color. That is something that I think is so important and can be hard, not hard to do, but like it requires some effort. But it's so important because that's literally the thing that tips the balance, like money shouldn't be power, but it is. And if we can spend our money on people and communities that are marginalized and that have been oppressed and that are continue to be oppressed, then we can actually like make a difference. But it's something that does require like intention and doing a little bit of research and being intentional about it. But it's something that I know I'm definitely trying to do more and more.
And now a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Wine Dine Caroline's Happy Hour.
The flip side of that, so women like myself who are multiracial or, well, add in different marginalized identities, I would say most of us are some of the best at what we do. Because if we want to be in business, we fucking have to. We can't show up half-assed. We can't show up because people don't have the same, if you will, grace for us. We have to excel at what we do to be viable in the marketplace. I'm not saying that's the best thing, but I have never hired someone, a woman of color, and been like, man, she really phoned that in. No, she's there giving it full out because that's how she got to where she got to, because she was willing to do that. And I think that it behooves people. Literally, there are so many people who are missing out of a talent pool that is truly exceptional.
No, and I think that's absolutely crucial for people to understand. It really is. I mean, I know that like white women talk a lot about how women have to work, harder than men to get to the same place. And when you put skin color into the mix and all of these other factors that marginalize people, it is so much more difficult to get to the same place. Even, like with the fucking pandemic, think about all the kids that don't have a computer at home.
Yeah.
Everyone that doesn't have, all these kids who literally just didn't go to school. What does that do to people? And it just puts every single child that doesn't have a computer that couldn't go to school in the last year, who do they get to be compared to the kids that did have a computer, compared to the kids that had a bedroom and food and all of these other, privileges? It's something that, I mean, that's an extreme example, obviously, but I think it's it's an interesting point. Like the hustle is real and there's no slacking when you're already behind.
Yeah.
If we can all just try to be better, please. And if Donald Trump can just have some consequences for his actions.
Yes. I would say prison time would be a good call.
Can we put him into an oubliette? That's just like a hole where you get forgotten about. So remember the oubliette in the labyrinth? We just got to put him down one of those.
I stopped trying to spend so much time there because I realized it was
going
to change me.
No, you're so right. And it's like I actually was sitting in the living room with my stepdad, and like we're both scrolling on our phones. And I said, I was like, what are you looking at? He's like, Facebook. Oh, I was like, yeah, me too. Oh, and I was like, let's both just stop. Turn it off. Take it away. Okay, fine. Get rid of it. No Donald Trump. Terrible. On that note, I really hope that you can get a bottle of Lambrusco somehow. I wish I could send you one, but I can't because you're in Utah. Let me know when you're going to be somewhere else. I'll send you a bottle of Lambrusco.
All right.
But I know we were talking about going to New Mexico. I really think we should meet up in New Mexico one day.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Well, we're internet friends, so we need to hug it out.
Yep, meet in real life.
IRL. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and I appreciate you so much. I think you're wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I had fun.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Wine Dine Caroline's Happy Hour. Wine Dine Caroline's Happy Hour is produced by Paris Underground Radio. For more information about Happy Hour and shows like it, please go to parisundergroundradio.com. To hang out with me more, head to my Facebook group. It is called Good Wine, Good People, and you can find the link to that in the show notes. Cheers.